on.
Yeah! Come on! That's all!
The goal scorer for Stockport County, number 9, Tanto Olafi.
Hello and welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're back here with a match preview today. Stockport County look to take on Peterborough United on this Good Friday coming up at the end of this week. I'm very much looking forward to it. And before we get into the match preview, there's loads we're going to delve into in this preview. We're going to talk about securing a potential playoff place with a win on Friday. Second place, is that still an option? Calverton scoring streak, obviously getting a goal once again at the weekend. Will County rotate with 48 hours between both matches during the Easter weekend? We're also going to talk about the latest team news and injury updates, a bit about the opposition, of course, then we'll end with a score prediction as well. But like I say, loads to talk about. Stockport County remain fourth in the League One table, and as I say, a win or 2 points from the final four matches will see the Hatters mathematically secure a playoff place, although they face a posh side that has been in patchy form of late, with 3 defeats from the last 5 matches, picking up just 2 wins. But one of those wins was, however, a 2-0 win over League One champions Birmingham City, of course, at Wembley in the EFL Trophy final on Sunday afternoon. The Posh find themselves 16th in League One and are currently on course for their lowest League One finish in over 20 years. You have to go back to 2004 to 5 seasons to find the last time they finished lower in League One, as they finished 23rd and were of course relegated to the 4th tier of English football. So can County pick up a 9th away win in the league this season? Stockport's last visit to London Road came in an FA Cup first round replay back on the 16th of November 2010. The Hatters were swept aside during a 4-1 defeat to the Posh that day. They did pick up a 1-0 win over Peterborough United in April 2008, with Tommy Rowe scoring the only goal of the game in the 59th minute. That's the Hatters' last win at London Road to date. So Stockport, of course, are in form. 4 wins in the last 4 after losing to Wrexham at the Racecourse Ground. We know that obviously one more win will secure a place in the playoffs. But are people bothered about where we finish in the league once the playoff place is confirmed? And what I mean by that is we know that 3rd and 4th, I think, have the first leg away from home, and then the deciding leg is on home territory for a midweek game. Obviously finishing 5th and 6th, it's like, it's sort of reversed. Are people bothered about league position once the playoffs are confirmed? Are you just happy to be in the playoffs? Want to get your thoughts on that one? For me, I've made it quite clear. I don't really want to drop lower than 4th now. I think 4th, 3rd would be good finishes, of course. But look, there's still that conversation. 5 points off second place with 4 games to go. Is it possible that Stockport County can still maybe secure an automatic spot and go up to the Championship automatically, not having to go through the playoffs? It's unbelievable, in many ways that we're saying that, because I think I said at the beginning of the season, 7th place finish for Stockport County. I thought they finished just outside the playoffs. Now we're talking about confirming a spot in the playoffs with a few games to go, and also that little outside chance that we could end up still getting a place in the automatics as well, the top 2, which would be brilliant. I mean, look, when we're talking about this, you've got to look at not only our sort of remaining 4 fixtures, but also Wrexham and Wycombe's final 4 fixtures. And if you just see here, Wrexham's final 4 fixtures, you've got Bristol Rovers at home. Bristol Rovers are going to be fighting for points. Burton, I think, overtook them in the table at the weekend. They're fighting to stay in this league. They're going to have to put in a strong performance. They're going to be up for this, because every game's a cup final now for Bristol Rovers if they want to stay in League One this season. Although it's at home for Wrexham, Bristol could be a potential banana skin. We've seen it with Cambridge earlier this year as well. So, and look, I think we struggled at Bristol as well. So, that could be an interesting one. Then Blackpool away. As I say, Blackpool have been decent second half of the season. Steve Bruce, can he get a job done? Can he do County a potential favour? Not sure why I'd want to, but I think that could be a fairly tricky game potentially. Charlton Athletic as well, the second to last game of the season, their final home game of the season. Charlton are, looking at it from a County perspective anyway, they've been awkward to play against. I don't think County have managed to win in either of those 2 games against them this season. Charlton seem like a really awkward team to go up against. That could be a difficult game. That I think it could end up finishing as a draw, to be honest, that one. And that would, of course, lead to him dropping points there. And then Lincoln away on the final game of the season. I'm not really sure how that one will go, but I think there's a few games there that that could be potentially difficult. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if they picked up 2 or 3 wins from those final 4 as well. So it is interesting, but I think there are a few potential banana skins there for Wrexham. Having a quick look at Wycombe's final 4 fixtures as well. This looks a little bit trickier, to be honest. Bolton away, Charlton at home. We spoke about Charlton, how difficult they can be to play against. Leyton Orient away, obviously they're still trying to fight for the playoffs as well. That could be over though by the time they play them. And then of course they've got ourselves on that final game. It's sort of a home game for Wycombe, but County 5-0 defeat last time we played them. But it's hard to know whether or not that is because they're miles better than us, or if it was a blip. Because we've not played them a second time yet this season, it's hard to kind of grasp, was that a one-off, was that a fluke, or are they actually a better team than Stockport County? And until we face them on the final game of the season, we don't know what the outcome will be, obviously. So we've already played the likes of Bolton twice, Wrexham twice, and Birmingham twice. So we've already played a lot of the top teams twice at this point. And typically in at least one of the games we managed to get a decent result against them. So Wycombe is a bit of a difficult one to judge going into it, but I'd back County to get the job done. Especially if it became a match where it could be our final game of the season. If that's the game that potentially if we did win that, we could end up securing second. I think we'd back ourselves to win that one. And then of course, if we look at Stockport County's final 4 fixtures of the season as well, Peterborough United, of course, on Friday away from home, back at home, back at Edgeley Park on Easter Monday next week. 9th place Huddersfield, they've dropped off massively over the last month since they made the sacking, I think, of Michael Duff. Seems to have backfired for them. Lincoln City, of course, the final home game for Stockport County on the following Saturday, and then of course that trip to Wycombe away on the final game of the season, which could still have something to that fixture. As I say, it could be a fixture which could potentially be County's last of the season if they manage to get that second spot, but I think most people do feel like it's inevitable we'll go through the playoffs at this point in time. Right, so now we're going to talk about Cal Wotton. Obviously, he is someone which I think does divide people and their opinions on him. Some rate him, some don't. Obviously, I have been critical of him. I don't really want to be too critical of him because at the moment he's in good form and there's not too much to be critical of, but it seems to keep coming up. And obviously he scored last weekend, meaning he'd scored in consecutive league matches for the first time since August. It's 4 now in his last 4 as well. He has 18 goal involvements in the league this season, and it's a decent record. It's a more than decent record. But a lot of people during this patch of form that he's in keep saying, oh, look, where are the critics now? Where are the critics now? Well, the criticism was valid at the time. Like I say, in the lead up to that Burton game a few weeks ago, I think it was 1 goal in 23 matches. So as a striker, well, sure, you've got to say 21 goal involvements in all competitions this season. If people say that's a good record, then you'd also have to accept by the same measure that 1 goal in 23 matches is not a great record for a striker. Obviously, the stat that's been banded around this week is 21 goal involvements in all competitions. And look, it's a decent record. I often judge things in league stats as opposed to all competitions, but and that's why for me it's 18 goal involvements this season in the league, which is still a decent record. But it's not the record of a top striker at, let's say, maybe a Birmingham or Wrexham type level, and they're obviously looking to go up this season. But so is Stockport County, and I just think that Wotton's a decent striker. I don't think he's amazing. I don't think I don't think he's Championship level. I could be proven wrong on that. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'd like to be proven wrong on that, to be honest. If County went up to Championship and they kept Carl Wotton and he managed to be a prolific striker in the Championship, I would love to be proven wrong on that because that would be a good thing for Stockport County. I just think that, like I say, everyone has a different opinion on this. But like I say, in terms of goal involvements in the league this season, I think there's 7 players with a higher goal involvement this season in League One. And I think if you look at the stats on the screen here, this is goals and assists in League One this season. Carl Wotton is 9th in that list of players, and you can see there that there are other players who have had more goal involvements this season. But look, he's still in decent company. He's only a handful of goals off the top in Alfie May, so it's certainly not a bad record by any means. I've never said it's a bad record. I just don't think that he's maybe a starting striker, in a top team. And like I say, he's done a job this season. That's been helped by the goals he's picked up recently. As I say, if he doesn't have those 4 or 5 goals over the last few weeks, then it's a much lower goal involvement this season, isn't it? And a lot of the criticism was before this patch of form which he's now found himself in. It looked, like I say, 2 goals consecutive back-to-back league games he's scored in now for the first time since August. I'm hoping he can continue that into a third with hopefully a goal against Peterborough on Friday. So I think everyone in the county fan base is wanting him to do well. I'm hoping that he does well. I'm hoping he scores against Peterborough and, as I say, keeps that goal scoring record going. That's what we're hoping for. In terms of team news, obviously, Noyle suffered a back spasm, I think, in the build-up to the game last week. Should be available, I think, for this game on Friday. Obviously, Powell picked up an injury last week as well. I think he'll be out for around 2 weeks maximum, so he'll likely miss, obviously, the game, on Friday and Monday. And look, I think for Nick Powell, I think he's a very talented player. I'm a big fan of his, but I don't think he's been fit enough in his time at Stockport County to justify. I don't know how long he's left in his contract. I don't know if it's up this summer or next summer, but if I was Stockport County, I'd probably be looking at moving him on in the summer, to be honest. I think he's a good player, but we don't get him on the pitch often enough, and that has been a frustration, particularly this season. But just going back to Noyle as well, obviously he sort of dropped out back spasm late on. That opened the door and that paved the way for Jay Mingy to come back into the matchday squad, which I thought was interesting. As far as I was aware of, he's been in an individual sort of training program over the last few months, and that's why he's not featured in the matchday squads. It seems very convenient that Noyle would pick up a back spasm and then Jay Mingy would suddenly have completed his individual training program at the exact same time. So I thought that was interesting timing. Maybe it is just a coincidence, who knows? But I can only say that if he's back in the matchday squad on Saturday, he must be over his individual training program now, and therefore I'd expect to see him continue to be in and around the matchday squad in the run into the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see. Keep your eyes peeled for Jay Mingy. Is he going to be involved in the matchday squad on Friday and Easter Monday? Let's face it as well, we're talking about 48 hours between the 2 matches. Rotation's going to be key. Surely he's going to get some minutes, in at least one of those matches. We're going to have to rotate if we want to keep players fit. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Obviously, Lewis Bate as well picked up an injury. Was it last week now? Maybe back before the end of the season, but I'm not exactly sure what the timeline will be on when he'll be back. I certainly don't think he'll be back for the next 1 or 2 matches, that's for sure. Obviously, Camps is out for the season as well. It seems to look like at this point in time. Spoke about Jay Mingy. Mika Hamilton's an interesting one, obviously. Been used very sparingly, I think it's fair to say, during his time at Stockport County. He's only played 63 minutes from a possible 12 matches, I think, since signing on loan for Middlesbrough in January. I'd like to see more of him, especially with the quick turnaround between the game against Peterborough and then to Huddersfield on Monday. I just don't think we're going to see it. I think that we saw glimpses of him in games. I thought he looked quite poor against Leyton Orient when he came on, but then I thought he looked really positive when he came on against, I think it was Blackpool a few weeks ago, when he came on the right-hand side, and I thought he looked quite promising in those few minutes. We've not seen him really since, so he's been a bit of a strange signing for me. He looks like he has potential in his locker, but we're just not managing to find a way to unlock that locker at the moment and find that form. But obviously, Middlesbrough signed him from City for a reason. County have obviously been interested in bringing him on loan from Middlesbrough for a reason. We just haven't quite been able to see what that reason is yet. But I'd like to see a little bit more of him in the next few games. Brad Hill is obviously from one bad loan signing, I suppose you could say, to a superb loan signing. Starting the majority of his games as well since joining in the winter window. Obviously scored his first goal for County with an absolute bullet of a header to send the Cheadle End wild, as County went in front against Rotherham at the weekend. It was a fantastic goal, and whilst Wharton did score the third goal in the end to make it 3-1, it does feel a little bit like if we end up securing the playoffs, or if we go up, that goal feels like a big moment in the season with that header for Brad Hills, and it has sort of a similar feeling, being sort of stood in the Cheadle End for that one. It's similar to that Paddy Madden goal against Newport, I think it was last season on Easter Monday. It just feels like that goal just completely changed the game. Obviously not as dramatic as that Paddy Madden goal, because I think it was the 93rd minute and I think it was 1-0, but it did feel like a pivotal moment in the season potentially if we go on to achieve what we want to achieve this season. So Brad Hill's absolutely superb, and a superb performance as well, and also showing his ability to be versatile in the team as well, playing right back the last few weeks. That brings me on nicely to the team news then. So this is the predicted 11. This is the team I think Dave Chownall will look to pick. Obviously Corey Adai in goal as always. The same back four: Hills, Horsfall, Ethan Pye and Ibi Toure in that back four. Obviously Hills playing in that sort of right back position, which he seems to have done really well. And although I think when we started the game on Saturday, it looked more like a back three, and it looked like we changed to a back four in the second half, which seemed to suit us a lot better, if I'm being honest. Jaden Fevre, I think he'll start on the right hand side again. Ollie Norwood, of course, in midfield. Will Collar will partner him, and it will actually be Will Collar. He won't be on the bench either, so it is Will Collar starting, not as a sub as well at the same time. No issues with the team selection hopefully this week. So it's an otherwise unchanged 11 basically, other than Collar coming in for Moxon. Then of course Jack Diamond on the left, great goal to get us back in the game late on in the first half on Saturday, and then I think he'll go with Cal Wotton and Tanto Alafi to start as the two strikers up. So here's the team I would look to start with, of course. Adai in goal, basically the same kind of team, the same back four, except I've gone with a slightly different four in midfield. I've gone with Odin Bailey to start on the right ahead of Jaden Fevre. I just thought he came in second half off the bench, a superb cross for that superb header from Brad Hills. He looked sharp when he came on, in all fairness, Odin Bailey, and for that reason I'd look to start him. Seems to have got a little bit sort of momentum built up from that second half performance. I'd look to throw him in from the start against Peterborough. 180 thoughts on that one. Norwood, of course, in midfield. For me, I'd go with Owen Moxon ahead of Collar. I just think Collar's slightly better going forward, but also I think he's played a lot of football this season. He's not looked quite at his best in the second half of the season as he sort of did in the first half of the season. I just think it's a potentially big game on Monday as well. I think we'll get away with starting Moxon alongside Norwood, and then we can use Collar a little bit more maybe on Monday. Diamond on the left, of course, and then a front two. Cal Wotton scoring goals at the moment, wouldn't look to change that, and I'd partner him, of course, alongside Tanto Alafi. Of course, there will be discussion about Benno as well. Of course, Anderson should be back available for this game, I'd imagine, but I wouldn't have him to start. I think he could be a good option off the bench, and as I say, a bit like Collar, a bit like some other players, a big opportunity potentially for those players to start on Monday. So that's the team I would look to go with. Like I say, I'm looking forward to this game. It's a game which I think that we should look to, we should be looking to win. Peterborough, of course, though, did retain the EFL trophy on Sunday after beating Birmingham 2-0. Some brilliant goals as well in that final, I have to say, particularly the second one, which I saw was a stunning finish by a player. I can't pronounce his name, but you guys will know what I'm on about. Brilliant second goal just before half time. The Posh have had a tough season, obviously, in League One, but at least it's not been boring. You certainly can't say that as a sort of Peterborough fan this season. It's certainly not been boring. 62 goals scored. That's just one less than Stockport this season in the league. That's just 9 less as well from the top scorers in the league. I think Birmingham City. However, only 22nd place Crawley Town have conceded conceded more than Peterborough, with 81 goals conceded. Darren Ferguson's side have conceded 72 goals so far this season. They've not conceded this many since conceding 87 during their 21-22 season in the Championship, which unsurprisingly ended with relegation. Despite a poor season, though, it's not stopped two of their strikers scoring double digits in the league, as Kwame Poku, I think it is netted 12 in the league this season, while Malik Mavasil has scored 11. I butchered that pronunciation. I think the one thing you would be looking to expect in the game against the Posh is goals. Obviously, speaks for itself, the amount of goals they've scored and conceded in League One this season. County are taking the lead, I think, in 3 of the last 4 matches, although, of course, Rotherham scored early last week. I'd expect County to get in front early, to be fair, make it a quick start into the game and make it fairly comfortable, routine win. Obviously, the Hatters, they've got a job to do. I'd expect them to get through this game and take us a step closer to a potential third promotion in 4 seasons. I want to see a quick start. I want to see us rack up a few goals, and if I'm being honest, look, every game has the ability to be a tricky game in these kind of leagues. But looking at where Peterborough are in the league, looking at there could be a potential hangover as well, literally from Sunday. So yeah, I just think we should be looking to take full advantage of the fact that they've obviously got a leaky defence. They do score goals though, so I think we've got to be aware of that. But I think the back four that we'd look to pick, I think it would be capable of handling that Peterborough attack. And like I say, they probably will score a goal in the game just because the amount of firepower they've got in front of goal. But I'd expect us to win this game fairly comfortably, to be honest. And yeah, I'm going to go with a 4-1 County win. So it's a strong win. But yeah, I think that's what we'll go with. Obviously, as well, you've got to think about it. Whilst we're talking about the threats that Peterborough carry, the amount of goals they've got in their side, we're looking pretty sharp at the moment. Tanto looking back to his best almost. Certainly looking like he's picked up that match fitness which he lacked at the beginning of the season. Then you look at Fevre Diamond getting into the team more regularly and showing a bit more end product. That's been a question mark against both of those two players this season. Wotton obviously in form and scoring goals. The cross from Odin Bailey for County second. Last weekend. I'm confident that we can do the job. And as I say, I'm going to go with a County 4-1 score prediction. It's certainly a confident score prediction, but that's what I'm going to go with. I'm expecting a confident performance, and I'm expecting us to secure that place in the playoffs with a win on Friday. So I want to get your thoughts on Stockport County. What are you thinking? What is your sort of what is your position in terms of the league position? Are you bothered about finishing in the top 3 or 4 positions? Do you still think the automatic places could potentially be in our grasp? Score prediction as well for Friday, and how much rotation do you think we'll see over the course of the 2 games with just 48 hours between, of course, both those matches? Want to get your thoughts on all those things, and of course, don't forget to like the video if you have enjoyed it. Do subscribe if you are new, and as always, thanks for watching.